Let's talk about something that affects pretty much everything we do online. Our digital world is in a constant clash with laws that were written for the age of the printing press. Seriously, the entire copyright system is kind of like it's running on outdated software, and believe me, it is long overdue for a major update. Today, we're going to dig into why.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Think about the last paperback you read. When you were done, you could lend it to a friend, sell it, or donate it, right? No problem. But what about that ebook you just finished on your tablet? You can't really do any of that. Kind of weird, huh? Well, this simple, everyday situation gets right to the very heart of the problem with copyright today.
So to really understand why our digital rights feel so tangled and confusing, we've got to jump in a time machine and look at how this whole system was designed in the first place. See, it wasn't built for clicks and downloads. It was built for physical things, stuff you can actually hold in your hand.
I mean, just think about it. Way back when, the act of copying something was a massive undertaking. Picture a monk spending months, maybe years, transcribing a single book by hand. Or even with the first printing presses, it was still a ton of work. The sheer difficulty of making a copy was, in a way, its own built-in copy protection.
And this is where things get really interesting. You can see the evolution right here. First, Gutenberg's press makes mass copying a real thing, and governments kind of freaked out and used it for control. But then, and this is a huge deal, in 1710, the Statute of Anne flips the script. For the first time, it gives rights to the author, not the king, not the printer, the creator. That was radical. And from there, the Berne Convention took that idea global, setting up the system we basically still have today.
So for centuries, that's how it worked. And then, the digital revolution showed up and just shattered the foundations of that old system. The internet basically created a huge fight between the law and technology, and honestly, we're still trying to figure it all out.
Just look at this comparison. It tells the whole story, doesn't it? Everything that made the old system work just vanished. Copying went from a slow, expensive process that made worse and worse copies each time to an instant, free action that makes a perfect, identical clone. The entire game was rewritten from the ground up.
And this, right here, is the core issue. Our laws are all built on this old idea of physical scarcity, the assumption that making a copy is hard and takes real effort. But we don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world of digital abundance, where copies are infinite and effortless. The legal framework is just completely out of sync with reality.
So instead of a total system reboot, what we got were a bunch of patches. You know, like the DMCA, that's the notice and takedown thing that can get your video pulled because a song was playing in the background. Or DRM, that really frustrating technology that sometimes locks you out of a movie you legally bought. All these quick fixes have just created this constant tug of war between creators, the platforms, and, well, us.
Okay, so if the system's broken, how do we start to fix it? Well, the first pillar is a big one. We have to reform the actual laws. We need a brand new legal operating system, one that's actually designed for the digital age.
A really central idea for this whole reform is a concept called digital exhaustion. Now, it sounds a little complicated, but the principle is actually super straightforward. It just means your rights as an owner shouldn't vanish just because something is digital. If you buy it, you should own it and have the right to resell it or give it away, just like you can with a physical book.
So a legal reform really comes down to 3 key moves. First, officially recognize digital exhaustion so we can actually own the stuff we buy. Second, we need clearer, more flexible rules for fair use to protect things like parody, criticism, and education. And third, we've got to create balanced, fair rules for online platforms, so they aren't stuck in a position of having to censor first and ask questions later.
But here's the thing. Even with the best laws in the world, they're useless if people don't understand how to navigate them. And that brings us to the second pillar of this whole thing. It's not just about upgrading the laws, it's about upgrading our own skills.
And this is about a whole suite of skills, not just legal jargon. It's things like copyright literacy, so you actually know what a Creative Commons license means. It's information literacy, so you know how to properly credit sources. It's even ethical literacy, so you stop and think about the impact of remixing someone else's work. We all need to get a lot more fluent in the language of how our digital world works.
And as this shows, we can't use a one-size-fits-all approach to this kind of education. It has to be tailored. For older generations who might not be as comfortable with the tech, we need hands-on support and really concrete examples. But for the younger digital native generations, we should be building this right into school curriculums and using the tools they already use every day, like apps and social media.
So, at the end of the day, where does that leave us? The solution isn't just one or the other. It's not a choice. We need both. We need smarter rules that are actually designed for the world we live in, and we need smarter users who are empowered to navigate that world.
The real question isn't which one we should do first, but how we can finally build a culture where technology and the law can evolve together.